Welcome back to another episode of What We're Talking About on Wednesday. What the? I am back and we have some things to talk about. Before I get into the first topic, I want you to watch this video.
We got a call from a school resource officer saying Kaya was arrested.
They say, what do you mean she was arrested? Say there was an incident and she kicked somebody and she's being charged and she's on her way.
Marilyn Kirkland says her granddaughter's journey to the Juvenile Detention Center by Orlando police officers began at Lucius and Emma Dixon Academy Charter School.
She's arrested and she has a charge. She's charged with battery.
The disorienting chaos, too much for Kirkland to process.
She has a medical condition that we're working on getting resolved. So he says, what medical condition? So I said, she has a sleep disorder, sleep apnea. He says, well, I have sleep apnea and I don't behave like that.
The first grader handcuffed and carted off, where the grandmother says she was fingerprinted and even had a mugshot taken.
No 6-year-old child should be able to tell somebody that they had handcuffs on them and they were riding in the back of a police car and taken to a juvenile detention center to be fingerprinted, mugshot.
Kaya.
Okay, so we've watched the video. Now, let's talk about the fact that a 6-year-old had a temper tantrum and the police decided to arrest them, charge them, fingerprint them, and take a mugshot of them. A 6-year-old. What's going on in the world today where a 6-year-old needs to be arrested? Are police that up in arms about how they're perceived that they want to continue to make their perception worse by arresting children? 6 years old, not 16, not 26, 6 years old. And that girl knows what it likes to be booked. Like, and of course it's a young woman of color. And it's just like, really, you had nothing else, no other means of punishment, no other means of dealing with this. Your thought process was, oh, she kicked a child. Yes, that's bad. It's so bad that we should arrest her as cops. Not show her that, by atoning for my behavior and apologizing, sometimes as a child can make things better. No, you said, no, you're a little black girl. You kicked somebody. I have to arrest your black ass. It's unfathomable to me that police officers would think that that was the just reaction to a child's misbehavior. I don't think that anybody should have to ask. I don't think that anybody should have to tell them that their response was irrational. And yet here I said, your response as police officers was to teach a little girl that small mistakes as a child means big time adult consequences. And that if she does not appear at court, a warrant will be released for her arrest. Are you kidding me? What in the world is America coming to, ladies and gentlemen? I am mind blown. I want to curse. I want to cuss. I want to cuss out the police officers. But you know what? I'm just going to say this. You're setting a precedent that you've set in the past. And while your words suggest that you are not doing these things and not participating in this particular narrative, your actions say otherwise. Let's get it together, ladies and gentlemen. That was a child. That was a little girl. That was an irrational response to her behavior. If she had pulled out a knife, if she had put the little girl in a chokehold and refused to let her go, or the other child, I don't know if it was a girl, if she had done something that would justify her being removed from the school, that's one thing. But to arrest her and do the whole 9 yards, drive her down to the juvenile center in the back of a police car, it's like, is this a Cosby episode? Are you trying to teach her something, or are you trying to instill fear in her? And then you guys turn around and wonder why children or people of color are so afraid of you guys. Don't do the crime if you don't do the time. She literally didn't do a crime, but she was being arrested. I'm gonna let that one go. Next, we're going to talk about the fact that Mr. Donald Trump, Presidente El Presidente is finally, his day is coming. A day of reckoning is coming. They have announced that they are going to start to investigate the possibility of impeachment of Donald J. Trump, Mr. President. And you know what? I don't have much to say because, again, I'm not an American and I'm not all the way up in their politics. But bravo. Bravo. I hope it happens. I think they need to start all over again. I feel like if there's going to be a collapse if it happens, but I feel like it needs to happen. I feel like he was a big mistake on America's part, and now they realize that they need to kind of wipe that clean and start again. So my hope is that they have that opportunity to do that. And lastly, I want to talk about, what the heck was it I wanted to talk about? Oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot. Oh, right. Flint. Flint, Michigan. They have announced that their water still sucks and is still filled with lead. And now that it's been 5 years since the first discovery of their unsafe water, children are now exhibiting signs of slow learning. They said the percentage of children that are now in special needs that weren't before this whole ordeal happened has spiked 53%. So you have a child and they're, 1 or 2 years old, and they're starting out with a normal learning rate. And then because of Flint, and you're bathing them, feeding them, cooking them, using all that water, 5 years later, your child's educational growth has rapidly slowed down. And the effects are almost blindingly obvious. These people are still living in this area and still begging for help, and they're still saying that something needs to be done, but the effects are already showing up in these children. There's a little boy in this video that said, my learning has slowed down a lot. And he's maybe 10, 11, 12, and he knows that he's being affected by the water. Why is this just being swept under the rug? Why is this just being ignored? Now there's proof that people are being directly affected. Children are being affected by this, and still there's no call for real action. So I guess what's going to happen is that they have to wait for them to be adults to really see the full effects of Flint's water. I don't know how much more proof you need, how much more clarity you need on the situation. The water sucks. Something needs to be done. These are people who rely on water every day. I'm sure if this was in some bougie ass town like Southampton or some shit, y'all would have had this fixed quick, fast, and in a hurry. You would have banked, you would have cleared out your bank accounts to fix it. But because it's in Flint, Michigan, where it's largely people of color, it largely doesn't matter. I guess what my overall video is about, it feels a lot like I'm bashing or taking issue with the United States. Now, they are my neighbors and I have no issue with them. But what I'm noticing is that it's a country in need of love, unity, growth, understanding, and connection. And it has none of that going on right now. I hope that one day the narrative of the United States is vastly different from what it is today. But the reality is that country's in pain. And I don't make light of these situations. I don't make light of what's going on. But somebody's got to talk about it. And as usual, I'm Miss Paul's Opinion, sharing my opinion. And my opinion is that we need to pray for them, everybody, because something needs to change. This has been another episode of What We're Talking About on Wednesday. I'll see you next week.